balancing that with the rest of your life. If you're just focused on one area of life, then other things can fall apart.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, and profits. More importantly, so you can go have a bigger impact, a bigger reach, and bigger contribution. Welcome to our show today, by the way. Are you in a place where you're in a relationship? Maybe you're in a partnership. Maybe you're looking for a way to really connect the dots with that relationship, to be a power couple, to really, strengthen your relationship as well as strengthen your hustle. Well, today's experts are uniquely qualified to be able to share that message with you. Why? They run a very successful multi-million-dollar real estate firm. They run a very successful marketing agency where they've been building experts behind the scene for years and years, doing millions, multi-millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in results. And they are certainly qualified to talk to you about business. More importantly, we're going to talk about relationship, connection, strengthening, building your bond, and building up your hustle. Our guests today are Brandon and Samantha Middleton. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
Thank you. How are you?
Thanks for having us, Dan.
I'm doing awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you guys here. And this is kind of like take two, just truth be told, taking people behind the scenes, because we started the interview and lo and behold, I forgot to hit record. So there you have it. Sometimes that happens. So by the way, as you're joining us today, thanks for making us part of your day. There's going to be a lot of wisdom in this episode. You're going to want to grab a pen and paper. If you want to come back to this episode, you can do that at growthtofreedom.com/187. That's growthtofreedom.com/187. If you never want to miss an episode, you can go to growthtofreedom.com/subscribe. We literally have over 150 hours of some of the best insights and wisdom, and today is no exception. So grab your pen, grab your piece of paper. I'm going to dive right into it, guys. You have built a platform where you're really on a mission, bringing power couples together to strengthen the relationship and also strengthen their hustle. So I'd love to get your perspective. I mean, with all the success you've had in business, helping others build successful businesses, why are you guys doing what you're doing with this new mission called Ride or Die?
So why we're doing it, 17 years ago, we were kids, right? I was 17 years old. She was 19. And we were introduced to the real world, right? It's time to maybe go to college. We tried that for a little while. I've always been entrepreneurial, start a business. We had many little businesses that started and failed. And shortly after, we had the Great Recession. So we had a lot of immediate adversity as entrepreneurs. And as we kind of grew our business and had some success and got that first $1 million mark in a few years, and then had that first, $1 million year. It was, we met a lot of people along the way. We did a lot of business with people that were way more successful, 10, 20 years ahead of us. And we noticed that there's a pattern, there's a gap. There's a lot of focus around grow your business, but not a lot of focus around balancing that, if there's such a word, balance, right? Yeah. Balancing that with the rest of your life. If you're just focused on one area of life, then other things can fall apart. And both of us coming from broken homes, watching divorce 3, 4, 5 times with our parents and knowing how that affected us, we knew that we didn't want to repeat that. So from a very early point in our relationship, the relationship was always number one. I would say the first couple of years, money was the only thing I was focused on. We needed to get out of survival mode. But Sam's always been good from the moment I met her. She's always been more mature than her years. She's always known her worth, known what what she will accept and what she deserves.
That's a polite way to say
it.
And
and so very quickly, she challenged me to get my priorities in order, and I did. I knew that I didn't want to repeat the cycle. I'd rather make less money, but do it with my family than make a ton of money, be the most popular guy in, the network, and have the vanity stats, but not have the success at home that is so important to us. So that's why we did it. We had a lot of colleagues, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people we met along the way who would be like, how can you guys work together? I don't understand that. How can you spend so much time together? Like, what are you doing? And we thought it was pretty common for us because we just figured it out. We've built the plane as we were flying it. And the more we kept hearing that over the last, I'd say easily the last 7 to 10 years, the more we're like, wow, we've got something that we really need to share with the world. So
that is awesome. And I hope we get time to get into the story, the gas station story of how you guys met later on in the episode. And one of the things you brought up is balance, right? And I have my own view on balance, and I talk about it in some other episodes. So Samantha, from your perspective, I mean, you guys are a young power couple, and like the maturity you guys have, as I view it, is like way, way beyond your years. I mean, even what you just shared, Brandon, about the idea of vanity stats, even being aware that there are vanity stats, and so many people are I know 40-year-olds right now I can think of in my head, and I'm sure you can too, that I was just with recently, and like that's the measuring stick that they have, which I kind of look at as kind of sad, right? Yet you guys, if there is such a thing of figuring it out, right? Like you guys have seemed to figure out how to navigate having a great relationship, being connected, etc. So Sam, in your world, in your view of things, like what do you think it is that where you see a lot of people, whether they're working together side by side in the business or one, partner or spouse is the entrepreneur, like where do you see the biggest mistakes people making in their relationship, trying to build something together?
Oh, hands down, whether they work together or not, the biggest mistake that I see couples make is not making decisions together as a team, hands down. And I think that's how the whole like ride or die concept came about, because when we were together it was about the 3-year mark, and we went through like this real crash in our relationship where Brandon was working so hard at building a legacy for us and our future. But it was so, like, in my mind, it was so far down the road that I couldn't see this vision clearly of why he was working so hard and how many years were we going to have to bust our butts that hard and not enjoy the journey along the way. And we did break up for this awfully long week of our life where we really had to wake up and grow up and figure things out as a team. And when we made that transition into what Brandon always says, like, we're ride or die to the end, and I'm like, ride or die. And from that point forward, and just adapting that mindset, making decisions together, and even, let me just put this out there, Brandon and I are complete opposites. We are not the same person in any iota of none. He's so systems, and I'm so like free spirited. We're so different. But there's something really beautiful about when we can come together and make decisions together. We make them as a team, we fail as a team, we win as a team. And because of that, our relationship just grows stronger.
So speaking of that, like what's fascinating, earlier, Brandon, you shared this idea, and it's what popped in my head is the Tony Robbins quote. It was like, you get what you tolerate, right? And so, Samantha, it sounds like, you at some point put your foot down or whatever, related to this. Like, what, for you guys, what's been your biggest struggle? Just, putting it out there, you can go where you want with it, but like, what would you consider your biggest struggle or mistake or failure? And then what did you learn from it? I know when we sat down, it might've been, that week-long experience, but maybe it's something else. So what would you say to that?
We might not have the same one. You go first.
Okay. I would say our biggest struggle over the years, that's a really good question. The biggest struggle over the years would definitely be this period of time when Brandon and I didn't really understand the value of our time and the value of our skill set, and really have that confidence behind us that we could achieve whatever we really put our mind to, and we took action on. And that would be the one for me, because there was a while where Brandon was really introverted and shy, and he was afraid to go out and build that business that we really aspired to have, and spent a lot of time giving time to other people that weren't necessarily like deserving of as much time as he was giving or appreciative of that time. And it did slow us down for a while. And I think because of that, we took some turns in our business and stuff that were obviously learning experiences, but it would build up to a point where we were like, we don't want to do this anymore. And we would just be like quick to switch gears and say, okay, how do we make this better? But that time and that build up to get to that point was like very stressful and overwhelming during those times. So I think like until we really got the confidence in ourselves and trust in each other as a relationship and know that we had each other's backs all the time, that was probably our biggest struggle for a while.
Wow.
So for me, there's probably two. So kind of to piggyback off what she was saying, I think the time that she's talking about is like, so one of my biggest challenges has been trusting her intuition. So whereas I may be leading the company, I may be the visionary, I may have a lot of the systems and everything kind of mapped out in my head, a lot of times would let things, let's just use clients. I would tolerate a specific business or a decision or a client or what have you. Maybe you're in a job and you're tolerating that manager, that boss isn't giving you the promotion or isn't, making the changes necessary, or you need to leave that job. I would know probably 2 or 3 years sooner that should change. And Sam would let me know, like, hey, we're more valuable than this, or this has to change, or this isn't the right fit. It's time for a change. And I would let it go longer. And that would just create a more stressful time. But then we would actually get to a point where we'd finally make that decision, or that decision would be made for us. And it was always, Sam was right. That we should have done that, 2 years sooner, because now we can see that the result was better. So trusting her intuition definitely was a challenge for a while. And then, of course, 13 years of us working on this and working on business constantly, we got really good at a lot of things, but we also we created some bad patterns, some bad habits, some selfish habits, selfish as a couple. So when you add children into the mix, that first couple of years where a lot of your time has to be invested, not in business, right? And you've got that, it was definitely, I think, one of our biggest challenges. And of course, in the last year or two, just been huge return on investment.
Right. Yeah.
We knew that ROI with our family, I mean, it pays dividends, and it's sad but true, right? That a lot of couples in business, entrepreneurs, they give their family, their spouse, their partner, their kids leftovers. And when we come back, if you've ever felt like, I want to get to that next level in my relationship, but man, I find it so hard. I'm struggling with navigating the time and what my clients demand, my business demands, and the relationship. Something's got to give. Well, no, it doesn't. You can have it both ways. You can have your cake and eat it too. And Brandon and Sam are living proof of that. When we come back, we're going to take a deeper dive in some of the day-to-day strategies to build that connection, to create a power couple scenario, and to also build and grow an incredible movement in business. That and a whole lot more coming up right after this on growthtofreedom.com. All right. See, no two interviews are exactly the same.
Never.
So even that segment, I didn't do exactly the same because of just the way you responded to one of the questions. So
that one was better anyway.
You thought it was better?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was terrible at asking the original question. So now I'm kind of getting into a groove. All right. We'll kick it off. I'm going to shorten the breaks between out of respect for your time too, since I committed to you guys being done by 11. So, or my time. So that's what 11,
Gotcha.
12, 2 o'clock yours, right? You guys have till 2?
Oh, we can go over if you need to. We're okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Guys, I just want to dive right into it. I've heard some people describe entrepreneurship and family and trying to navigate it where you give your family leftovers, right? And it's sad but true. And I fit in it. And why this topic is so personal for me is, having built up a bit. I've been building companies for over close to 30 years now, and had some successes, had some failures along the way, and I went through a divorce, partially because I was an idiot, working 100 hours a week, and I just made business, frankly, the priority. I didn't get it right, and I like to think I learned a lot from it. But like what I love about us having gotten a chance to connect is it's a great reminder that you can have an incredible relationship. And so, I'm learning a lot from you, even though you're like well over 10 years younger than I am. And my wife. So Samantha, in your view, let's talk about balance. What's the biggest myth about balance in business and relationships in your view?
Oh, I got that. If you know.
The biggest myth about balance is there's no such thing as even Steven amount of time. There is no such thing. So what we've had to do
In other words, 8 hours in business, 8 hours of family,
Right.
8 hours in the gym,
Right. So the important thing for us to manage our priorities is to just realize that things are seasonal. And that in one season, we may be really focused on the business. Maybe there's a big push that we're doing, or a big promotion, or we have an event coming up, or whatever the case may be, that we have to really dive in and put our focus on work. And if we're going to do that in that season, we need to meet and connect to make sure that we're still giving our kids that time, or their understanding of the time that we're taking away. And what is going to be the return on that investment. So let's say it's going to be 2 months or 3 months where this season's going to be crazy with business. But at the end of it, like this summer is a good example. The kids were out of camp all summer. And at the end of the summer, we had a nice staycation with the family to reward us all for our hard work. So we just have to figure those things out as a couple, and then involve the kids on it as well. There's seasons where we've worked so much, and that we've harvested, and we have all that stuff, and we have we're nice and fat and happy for a little while, and we can enjoy life more, and do more date nights or do more vacations with the kids. And so the short of the long is that there is no such thing as actual even balance of time, but you can work to create that beauty and that balance for what works for your relationship, and just understand that those things are in seasons. So there's no black and white to it, right? You guys get to pave that path for yourselves.
That is so good. And, not just because I agree 100%, there's, the lie is there is no such thing as balance. So I'm going to go back to something you said in the first segment, which is related to, Brandon, the value of time, the confidence, right? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, I don't know if it was doubt, right? Or some type of insecurity, but like, what was the shift for you guys? Cause I don't know, I can, as you described it, and, building a lot of different companies, I imagine there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who have those voices. Like there's at certain times, amazing confidence, and we're on top of the world, we're the king. And then other times we feel like, pun scum, and, little confidence and lots of doubt and all these sorts of things. So like, what do you view as the shift that went from, maybe not valuing your time to where you got very clear on the value of your time, and you went from doubt, if there was doubt or lack of confidence, to you got confident in making the decision? What was that?
So there's obviously been many of those shifts. So are you asking like when was the first one, or maybe a couple of key?
What would you say would be a key turning point where it really got clear that you needed to stay in the groove on those things and respecting your time, and also that confidence in demanding of your time?
Investing in ourselves, like through education,
We went to a lot of workshops, weekend seminars for personal development, and it was one of the first ones early in our relationship. We're probably 20, 22, something like that. And there was a personal development training that we re-attended many times, and it stressed on that importance of knowing what you're worth and how little time there really is. And logically, that just made sense to me. But funny enough, at that very seminar, I actually put into practice. I had a small little website business at the time. And after kind of getting that knowledge, I tested it. And I had a client come up to me and they're like, "Hey, can you do this?" And normally I'd say, "Yes, that's, $25 an hour, or that's $1,000 a month." And I immediately put our value 5 times more than I had been as a new entrepreneur, because I had all this, "Oh, we're not worth it. We still need to be the cheapest because we're new." And what I realized was if I ask for more and we get it, I'm going to over deliver on that value. If we don't know how to do it, we'll hire the people that know how to do it, or we'll spend the time to go figure out how to get it done to over deliver for that client. So yeah, investing in personal development training together, going through that experience and those exercises together, really early on.
And then Sam, I've heard you mention a couple times the concept of ROI, right? And meeting together.
Yes.
So I seem to recall when we had dinner together, you talked about it then, that you guys meet together regularly, and then you have some, like, I don't know, whiteboard discussions or whatever as a couple. So speak of, like, what is your groove? What is your rhythm of how you guys navigate a week to stay connected with your goals? Or maybe it's once a month, I don't know. But like, what is your process for that? I'd love to unpack that a little bit.
Sure. And I want to kind of dovetail this with the last question that we were talking about building that confidence and stuff, because for anybody listening, I challenge you to do this next exercise with your spouse and even your business partner. If you are not in business with your spouse, go do this with your spouse on one side and your business partner in your business, because whiteboard sessions have been a real pivotal thing for us. That is another way that we've built confidence as well, because when Brandon and I sit down, which I'd say over the summer we've been slacking a little. It's probably more like every 3 weeks right now, and we're getting back on a schedule now that the kids are back in school. We ideally like to meet once a week, minimum, but one big meeting a week. And
Monday morning usually.
Yeah, it's usually Monday mornings. Sometimes we can't get it in that week for one reason or another, and we'll just do it on date night, and we'll like run down to Bonefish and write all over the table or whatever and take pictures of our stuff and then bring it home. But what we started realizing is when we would sit down and we would goal plan together, whether they seemed outrageous or outrageous or not, because I'm losing the word right now, we would find out a way to get it done. And the more that we sat down and did this, and the more that we went and took action on it, the more confidence we built that literally, like, we could put down a goal and it would happen. We were almost homeless, couldn't pay our rent, years ago. And I had just put a deposit down for our wedding venue, and we had a significant change in our finances, which left us like broke and moving into this like ghetto apartment for a little while. And I just said, we're not going to lose this wedding. We need to figure out how to make it happen. And we didn't have financial support from our families. They weren't paying for our wedding for us, and we had to figure it out. And so we started writing down our goals and what we wanted and how we were going to get it. And I'll tell you, within 6 months, we paid for a $25,000 wedding that we had no clue how we were going to pay for at the time. So that's just one small example of putting your mind to something and achieving it. But we've seriously done this with our business, our kids, the way we plan for vacations. We whiteboard it all out. What is our goal? How often do we want a vacation? How often do we want to go out with the kids? How often do we want to go alone? And what that looks like. And then we'll take it to the business. What are our business goals for the next 90 days? We can kind of plan out a year, but it's really hard to plan a whole year out, I believe, for entrepreneurs. So we really like to chunk it down more like 90-day goals. And then what do we need to accomplish each month to reach that 90-day goal? Knowing that it's not all black. Like, again, not everything is black and white, and everything shifts, and you have to be able to change with the times and readjust. But overall, when you have that mark, you have something to measure by, and it helps you get to those places and those successes. I hope I explained that right. Did that make sense?
So good. That is so good. And, as you're listening right now, as you're watching, I would encourage you to come back to this episode at growthtofreedom.com/187, which she just walked through in the goal process in 90 days, 30 days, what has to happen, planning out each of these things. You're going to want to come back, and Greg, it's like one of the simplest yet most powerful explanations I've ever heard. And here's the thing. I don't know if you've heard of Pearson's Law. That which is measured, improved. That which is measured and recorded improves exponentially. What better way to put that process into play for you than to do it with your partner, do it with your spouse, right? Do it with your family, do it together. And guess what? We're just scratching the surface on Brandon and Sam's incredible wisdom and genius. When we come back, we're going to dive deeper into some of the other strategies they put in place to build a power business, power couple, and how you can too. That and a whole lot more coming up right after this on growthtofreedom.com. All right, that was awesome.
Cool.
Did that make sense? I was like,
totally.
Was that
making sense right now?
If that's not specific enough, I have something I can add on with that they can actually take action on if on the whiteboarding.
Okay.
Or I can give it.
We'll dive into that. And then as we kick into the fourth segment, I want to make sure we prop you guys up, tell people how to reach you, so you just do a promo, basically. Do a shameless self-promotion. You guys are awesome. I love your guys' story. It's awesome. It's inspirational watching a young power couple do this.
Thank you.
Yep. Us old people, us old seniors, we can learn a lot from you guys.
Hey, we wouldn't have learned what we've had if it wasn't for people that we who paved the path for us.
That's right. That's good. All right.
And I think at some point it'll be just really important to hit that it's not perfect all the time. Like, we do hit our struggles and our obstacles even after 17 years, because I think a lot of people kind of get that disconnect with us because we're so smiley, but.
Yep. All right, here we go. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Sam, that was amazing. Like how you simplified that process of 90 days, 30 days, the different things that you think about, and like even the distinction of how often you want to go on vacations. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, right? A lot of people talk about, let's look at our business goals and break it down that way. But like your vacations, your time with family, what you're going to be doing with the kids. I mean, these little distinctions are so powerful yet simple. And Brandon, I'd love to get your take on this too, right? Because, you're doing this together overall, and chances are you've got a slightly different 3-degree varying view on this. So like how do you see this unpacking as you guys come together? Like I can imagine, picture you guys walking into Bonefish. They've got the white mat sitting there. You guys start in and you're grabbing your stuff, maybe out of the buckets or whatever, enjoying a couple cocktails or drinks, and you start power scratching like your thing. So like describe this process to us, because it sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Well, Bonefish is in the last few years, that was a nice little discovery, just because they do let you write all over the table. So you get to multitask a little bit, right? You get to have a nice date night, but naturally we're going to talk about life, and life requires, the business is the vehicle. So it's just a natural kind of conversation. So Bonefish is good for those, I wouldn't say like too serious meetings, but the ones that, you kind of been putting off, or, we got to get a date night in, and we also haven't had a meeting in a little while. So we'll squeeze that in. But in the beginning, it was really as simple as us just like sitting down in the living room. Like we've always worked from home, and, going back to what I said in the beginning was, at a certain point, I realized it didn't matter if I had $100,000 deal on the line for that day. If we were going through something, if we weren't agreeing on something, I would stop everything, and I could miss the meeting, move things around. Didn't matter. I was always willing to let business be second, even when it was really expensive.
You want to get your wife to just, for a minute,
Right.
is just say, I don't care. I'll stop everything right now. Let's fix this now. Well, that definitely stops me in my tracks. Anytime he does it, I'm like, okay, he's serious right now.
So our whiteboard sessions really started organically. It was just, okay, here's a big whiteboard. Now, what are your challenges? What are your wants and needs? And it would just like, we'd write a big long list. We'd just get it all out in black and white. And then it would just kind of start prioritizing things, or it'd be like, okay, this is a lot. Well, can we wait on this until we get this and this done? And we would just start literally like numbering things and together being like, all right, well, if you can go, close this deal or do that, then that means we can do this. And we would be on the same page. Now, those used to be like 5-hour meetings when we were first getting started, right?
With a lot less responsibility. I don't know how that happened.
But obviously, as we've grown, we've developed a little bit more of a process. And a lot of times it's really just a weekly check-in. Hey, what deals are on the table? What closings do we have in our real estate? Where are you at with date nights? Where are you at with vacation? Because sometimes it'll be like, oh, it's just been a long season. We need to get something, on the books, basically. And we'll just commit to dates and things. That's like our weekly check-in. It's not super structured, but I'd say every quarter we do sit down now and we have a filter. So we write down what needs to get done. And that'll be, as an entrepreneur, we have always a to-do list that probably feels like it's a mile long. And if you don't get it out of your head, it can start to feel overwhelming.
A lot of sleepless nights.
Right. So we'll start off the quarter and be like, all right, what still has to get done? And it'll be this long list of what. But then very quickly right next to it is why. Why are we doing this? Because and Sam's done a phenomenal job of this over the years. In the very beginning, like instinctively, she'll be like, that doesn't actually have to get done right now. That's not really an emergency. Even though for me, I would feel the pressure of a deadline or a client or obligation, and then she would challenge me on it. And over the years, we got better being like, why does this really have to get done in order for us to reach these goals? No. And so that would help kind of make sure that we were spending our time on the right things. And then it would be, okay, when's it going to get done? Mm-hmm. And then we worry about how it's going to get done at the very last, because that list of things may start off really big.
When it becomes important.
And then it just keeps getting trimmed down more and more. And then we have those dates that we get to commit to. And we do it with simple things like health-related things. It'll be like, all right, well, by this date, we want to be in this type of health. By this date, we want to have, this vacation or this financial goal or what have you. So they all have deadlines once we get to the fourth kind of filter of that whiteboard session every quarter.
So let's back up then. We're going back to the filter process. Mm-hmm. It sounds like there's 4 things that end with the deadline once you prioritize it. So unpack it. And if you were to give like the 4-step checklist of that filter, what would those handful of things be?
Yeah. What needs to get done? And then why does that need to get done? And that's really you just making sure that it's connected with your end goal and mission. And then when is it going to get done? Third, not everything is going to have a deadline, right? But projects are going to have a deadline, maybe not necessarily tasks. Mm-hmm. When is that project getting done by who? And how do we keep them accountable, right?
Yep.
And then finally, it's, okay, how? Because a lot of times, if we worry about the how too soon, then we can kind of talk ourselves out of some things. So if we're like, all right, we need to pay for this wedding in 3 months. How? Okay, well, let's make sure this is all the things that get us excited. These are the things that keep us creative. How we're going to do it, then that comes last. So, we figure that out.
That is a great process. So it's need to get done, why to get done, when to get done, who, and then the how. And I love that. And what I love about you guys is that you guys are so damn understated, frankly, right? You've built this multi-million-dollar real estate business that you invest in, dozens of properties going on through a year, maybe upwards of 20 or 30, if I remember our conversation about it. You've been the backbone of some of the biggest names in the expert industry in helping them drive momentum and build multi-million-dollar businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars in business. And then you have built your successful business and a successful family. I mean, it's amazing what you guys have done at such a young age. I just really, really find A, fascinating, and B, admire what you guys are doing overall. As you guys think about what you're doing and maybe with the depth of the clients that you've worked with, what would you guys say would be like 1 to 3, I don't know, breakthroughs or strategies you've kind of stumbled on? It might tie in exactly with this, that can allow you to build a power family, right? And a powerful business that has an impact. What would those 1 to 3 key things be?
For me, number one would be things have to be right here. When we're strong, everything else is strong around us. Especially, we've learned that a lot through having the kids. When we're weak, the kids sense it and they'll go through any crack they can to break us down. And so we have to be a really strong front for them and also for each other. So first, I would say it has to be with us. Second, it would be, who do we look up to? I don't think we're the smartest couple out there. There's definitely, and we're not perfect. We still fight and we still go through struggles. We still have obstacles. We still have to figure things out, right? There's older people that have gone through this before us. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so we're always looking for new knowledge, new tips, new ways to grow. So growth is an important part. And third, I'd say the people that we're around when we're either not around each other or even when we're out with each other as a family or as a couple. Who are the people that we spend our time with? Who are the people that we work with? That was a huge lesson over the years of just like sometimes along the way working with the wrong person and realizing it, and just being aware of your surroundings so that you don't have to necessarily do those struggles for too long, and you can bounce back really fast. But also, like, our friends, we have an incredible circle of friendships, people that are also parents, people that are also committed to their marriages. They know that it's not going to be perfect every day. They know there's going to be struggles, and we're vulnerable with each other, and we can share those things with each other so that we all come out victorious in our lives and our businesses and our marriages. So those 3 things I would say are the important ones for myself.
That's awesome. And Brandon, for you, with a little different twist on that question, is like, what would be, from our time together today, like, what would you hope that would be a handful of action steps that you would challenge our viewers and listeners to take to build a power family and a powerful business making an impact?
Oh, I wish it was as simple as just a step or one action, but truly, it's more mindset than anything. It's more of a shift in your attitude, a shift in perspective. I think a lot of people can think about marriage as, it's 50% and 50%, but the truth is it's really 100%, 100%, sometimes 120%,
Sometimes I'm 80% and he's 120.
Right. So it's really, it really is a shift in mindset. And if you prioritize your, foundation, over money, business, even friends, I hate to say it, but if you value that, then making that change in your mind is going to change saying yes to another function, or saying yes to going out with the guys that 15th time on the golf course, or, like, it's going to make, you'll make decisions differently. You'll be more patient sitting down for a conversation and, talking with your spouse to, like, that's what's really going to open up real change. It's not just like read this one book, or, obviously Gary Chapman's 5 love languages is an easy quiz to take. We love that. We reference our love language all the time. But yeah, when it comes to relationship, it's it's the ride or die attitude that like this is a team. If you're struggling, then the team is in pain, and I got to come and help. If I'm struggling, like if we're not both strong, or if we're not both like happy with something, then whether one agrees with it or doesn't, the team needs to make a shift. Like you got to step up for the team.
That's just such genius, such wisdom. And I admire what you guys have. And I literally wish we could spend hours unpacking like some of these little things of genius that you guys have figured out at such a young age. And for sake of time, for both of us and for our audience, I mean, we've in many ways scratched the surface, but ideally as you're listening right now or you're watching right now, you get a real understanding of the genius that Sam and Brandon have, and not only how they build their family, but how they can help you build a great family and a great business too. And they also happen to have a few vehicles to be able to do that they make available. So if somebody wants to go deeper with you guys and understand, the ride or die movement, some of your other resources that you make, where can people do that? How can they reach out to you? How can they get in touch?
Cool. So right now we are launching the book. So there's a lot of rebranding going on for Ride or Die, but you can visit rideordielife.com. That'll take you to the website where you can see the podcast that we do each and every week. You'll be able to get the book as soon as it's live here in the next few weeks. We're on Instagram all the time. We love Instagram at Brandon and Sam. And what else? Obviously, I mean, I could talk about the real estate that we do. I could talk about marketing, but you'll learn more about that as you follow us. Some of the episodes we do are specific to just real estate and how we do it, specific to marketing strategies. But
yeah, I just share. I just invite you guys to come share in our lives more. We open up and share a lot of stuff, which has taken a long time. I may not sound shy on the podcast, but it's actually taken a lot of vulnerability to open up in front of a lot of people and just share a lot of things, which we do, all the time on the podcast and all the time on Instagram stories and stuff. And we have a really fun time doing it. And we have a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying how much this information is ultimately changing their lives for the better. And it's really motivating. So the more of you that take those actions as well and have those successes, like it's a motivator for us to keep going. So we just really enjoy it and invite you guys to share in our journey with us.
So I want to encourage, if you want to go deeper, if you want to truly get an understanding of how to build a powerful business and a powerful family that's having a powerful impact, then I encourage you to go deeper with their resources at rideordielife.com. That's rideordielife.com. Check them out on Instagram at Brandon and Sam. You won't be disappointed. I mean, these guys have a wealth of wisdom. And when I say understated and having helped a lot of people, they were just sharing a story with me before the show about somebody that had reached out and who's done 20 deals in the last few months using their strategies, right? So there's a lot that they can show you to build wealth, to build a great, powerful family and a powerful business and a whole lot more. So go deeper, go to rideordielife.com, join the conversation, follow the journey, and ideally start taking advantage of some of the tools that they make available to you right now. So guys, as we wrap this up, there's a couple things. So you brought up Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. So a couple quick questions. So what are your guys' love languages?
What's mine? Pop quiz.
Words of affirmation.
What's my second one? Do you remember?
Quality time.
It used to be, but now it's acts of service. You got it wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Yours is physical touch is number 1.
Easy.
Yeah.
Could have guessed that one.
What's your secondary? What's his secondary?
Oh my gosh. His secondary is acts of service. No. Yeah. Acts of service.
Acts of service.
Is it?
Was it? I don't know. It's been like a year since I took it.
That's
physical
cool.
touch is his primary one. So that's definitely the one I have to focus on.
Here's another one. What would you guys say in 30 seconds to somebody that's struggling right now, where they're just a crazy entrepreneur working 80 to 100 hours a week? They are giving their family and kids leftovers. Like, what's something you'd recommend to give themselves a taste or a piece of freedom to start making the shift towards it? Better quality.
Start looking at what you're going to lose if you don't make these shifts now, because there's a beautiful life in front of you that you are missing out on. And money buys us things. It does buy us freedom and buys us luxuries. And certainly, you can see our living room in the background. We don't live in a shack. We work hard for the money that we're making, but finding that time and noticing and appreciating your spouse, which is something Brandon's done really well over the years, is just showing me his appreciation and that he values me as a wife. And it's kept me around for 17 years. So he's doing something right.
I'll say the means, when it comes to family, marriage and family, the means don't justify the ends, right? You can look up the research study that was done, people on their deathbed and the regrets that they have. And I know that's just, when I think about that, it's just, especially as the kids get older, when they're babies, it's one thing, but as they're toddlers and becoming little people now, gosh, it breaks my heart. There's no amount of money that would let me sacrifice that. So I hope that by hearing that, you guys, someone who might be going through that, that's justifying, because that's something that I made the mistake of doing in the early years a lot, was saying, no, you don't understand. Everything that you're saying you want, that's why I'm sacrificing everything, so that we'll have that down the road sometime. And that extra push from her, that really made it real. It made me actually make that shift. So embrace your significant other, embrace their strengths and their weaknesses, and that's all I got. I'll talk forever about
awesome.
this.
That's awesome.
I know, right?
Now, speaking of appreciating each other, so it sounds like, Brandon, you've gotten this right. 17 years, like Sam just mentioned, and that's I look at you and I go, what, did you get married when you were like 12? Which most people would say, and when you see the video, if you see the video, you would say that too, or get to know Brandon. These guys are just an amazing, powerful young couple with a lot of spirit, energy, and doing good things in the world. So, Sam, like, what would you say you appreciate or admire most about Brandon?
He has this quiet strength to him that for me is very sexy. He's very motivated, and he always puts me and now our family first. And for me, that's an incredible quality to have in a man. I just trust him with my life. So it means a lot to have that from one person, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build that trust with somebody. But when you have that connection and have that trust, like, you're truly unstoppable. So that would be my favorite thing about Brandon, is he just has there's this quiet strength behind him, and he's a super smart guy. When people get to know him, they always back me up on it. And I love that about him, because even though he makes us take a little bit longer to get to things, because I wanted everything done yesterday, I learn a lot about myself in the process, and it makes me a better person too.
That's awesome. How are you receiving that, Brandon, by the way? Is that comfortable for you?
Oh my gosh.
I own that. Like,
it makes him
curious,
it makes him shy, because I always say he's the Jim Rohn 2.0, and it makes him like shy because he loves Jim Rohn so much, but he really is a lot like him in a lot of ways besides the divorce part.
No, I receive it well. It gives me a lot of confidence. Like, I don't worry about a lot of things that I had friends worry about, right? I don't worry about infidelity. I don't worry about jealousy. I don't worry about a lot of things that could affect my confidence, because it's crystal clear what we have. And as more years go on, it's almost like we're in a race that, like, no one could replace, no one could take my spot. You know what I mean? So all I have to focus on is, focus on what we have and growing it. And now we get to focus a lot on the next generation of that, seeing that in our kids, seeing how that love and strength and growth and sacrifice and everything is very quickly
Pass on to our children.
Yeah, we're seeing them kind of give it back to us, teach it back to us, or show it's one thing to see something in your mind. It's another thing to like have the mirror right in front of you and go, wow, like this isn't just words. This is happening. This is growth. This is awesome.
So speaking of awesome, what would you tell Sam that you're most grateful for in how she has shown up in your world all these years to help support you to be? I mean, as I listen to her describe you, I mean, I don't think there's a higher compliment than could be paid in what she just shared. And you know, if you're listening right now, I don't know about you, but it like inspires me to want to even be a better husband and a better dad. And that's the impact you both are having. So like, what would you say to Sam for what you're grateful for and how she's shown up to support you to be this person?
I'm super grateful for how much she has challenged me over the years, how much she's pushed me to see things in myself that I didn't see early on. And she doesn't let me get away with much, you know, like I can have a logical, yeah, no, it really is. All right. Would you rather have a personal trainer? Let's just say you're into fitness and you really are dedicated to getting that 6-pack or losing that 20 pounds or whatever. Do you want a trainer, right? Your teammate and right next to you. Do you want them to be someone that goes easy on you, lets you slack, accepts your excuses? Or do you want someone that's just going to be truthful to you, who's going to tell you the stuff that you don't want to hear, but you know is probably true, and really challenge you to push that little extra so that you grow, right? This growth to freedom. It's all about growth. And if I had to like sum up, I know we talk about teamwork a lot, but this life is short, right? And I like to look at it like it really is a game. Like this is a game. The business is the biggest game. Like it's not as serious as the life game, the marriage game. Like this is all a game. And there's never going to be like all right, now we can just coast, right? Because that would be boring. So it's a game, and I like the challenge. I like growing. The more we practice, the more we fail. It just makes the successes that much sweeter. So yeah, I try not to take it too seriously. And I appreciate the push. I appreciate the honesty and that she doesn't compromise. I didn't appreciate it in the beginning. I will be honest with that. I tried very hard to use all my sales skills to persuade her to think the way that I think about certain things.
And I used all my skills and said, no, that's not what's going down.
And let me just say this, because I think a lot of people, maybe quietly or vocally,
you're making me sweat now,
could look at that as, especially in this role, right? It may be the man on the other side, but for me, it's my wife. Someone can look at that, and I struggled with this like for a period, like, oh, if I'm not right, if I'm not the one who came up with the idea, or I'm not the one who made the decision, as there's like an area of like demasculation, or a guy saying like, oh, he just does, he just listens to his wife too much. I know who wears the pants, and all those stupid cliches. That's the way that, unfortunately, I think the society views like the man's role and the woman's role a lot. I certainly see it a lot. I hear it more behind closed doors with just the guys than I would in a public environment. But there's something to say about like she's a strong woman, and it takes a strong man to marry a strong woman and to navigate those waters on a regular basis. And it's if there's any guys out there, or if there's women who are like, well, he really knows what he wants, and instead of seeing that as a negative, see how where they're strong can maybe complement where you're weak, and vice versa. And that might have gone a little not clear, but I felt like it was on my heart. It needed to be shared.
That was amazing. And you both are an inspiration. You really are. And I appreciate our time together. I hope as you're listening right now, as you're watching right now, or however you might be finding us, I hope you're inspired to know that you can have your cake and you can eat it too as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You don't have to give your family leftovers, your spouse leftovers, your partner leftovers. You can have a powerful business and a powerful home life and have a powerful impact. And they are just living examples. I encourage you to go deeper with their resources. Go check out what they're doing at rideordielife.com. Go follow them on Instagram. By the way, all the links will be posted in our show notes, which are at growthtofreedom.com/187. That's growthtofreedom.com/187. Guys, I'm inspired by you. And I just want to thank you for the time today and sharing your wisdom with our audience.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having us. And you've been an awesome friend in just the year and a half that we've known each other. I've learned a lot from you already. So
thank you, guys. And we got to give a shout out to our buddy, Vinny Fisher.
Vinny,
we actually got a chance to connect and meet. So Vinny, thank you. I mean, that's the beauty of the world we're in with, groups and masterminds and communities and such is, don't underestimate that. You never know, who you're going to meet that can have a major influence on you. So I encourage you, as you're listening, take action with what Sam and Brandon have been sharing with you. Focus on becoming a power couple, building a power business. Follow the steps that they've shared. Put your whiteboard process in place. Look at how you can deconstruct on a quarterly basis every 90 days. What has to happen in 30? Again, easiest thing to do. Come back to this episode, grab a pen and paper, jot down some notes, and go check out what Brandon and Sam are up to directly at rideordielife.com. That's our show for today. Thanks for being with us. Make it a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
On growthtoFreedom.com.